Hello everybody out there, and welcome back to another episode of The World's Finest. And in this review I've got 4 books for you guys, all from Marvel, grouping them all together this week because we're a bit late with our reviews. We've got Amazing Spider-Man and Iron Man, issue number 3, Nova and Extraordinary X-Men, issue number 1. Before we get into the number 1s, let's get into the number 3s. Amazing Spider-Man issue 3 this week kind of was a little bit... I enjoyed the issue, do not get me wrong, but at the same time, I feel like Johnny Storm was a little too hot-headed, no pun intended, for his own good. So Parker Industries officially took over the Baxter building. Pete basically turned it into his new, his company's new home base. And when the Human Torch finds out, like I said, he gets a bit hot-headed. And all in the background, Zodiac is working on a plan because they found out that S.H.I.E.L.D. knows where they are now. So it's either fight or flight. They choose to fight and sacrifice, certain people to fight. And spoiler alert, they kind of win. So the war between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Zodiac begins. However, that's not the main focus of the book. The main focus of the book is on Johnny Storm and Pete. Pete trying to explain to Johnny what he's done with, Parker Industries and what he's done with the Baxter building. And we find out that he has Harry, who no longer goes by Osborn. He goes by Harry, what was it? Lyman? Lyman. Yeah, we'll go with Lyman. Lyman. Hey, I just got that. He doesn't acknowledge being an Osborn anymore. Basically, Pete's giving him the greatest second chance. So Harry runs Parker Industries while he's away on business trips. And I love how Johnny's like, you have Norman Osborn's son, the son of the Green Goblin. And I love how Harry interrupts him and goes, and also a Green Goblin at one time. And he says, you have him working here. And then Pete shows him all of his cool new cars and jets and whatnot. And another fight breaks out. And then finally Pete's like, dude, let me show you something. He takes off the costume and he's just Pete. And he says, can we talk now? Like, for real? And Johnny's like, fine. And then he shows him the monument. And this is a bit of a spoiler alert. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers for any of these books, pause right now. Come back after you read them. Because it turns out Pete bought the building because all the main companies, Hammer, Roxxon, Alchemax, all of them wanted to buy the Baxter building. He bought the Baxter building because he wants to have it and keep it in the family, so when the Fantastic Four does come back, and they will. So this kind of confirms, this book confirms, opposite of what Uncanny Avengers kind of confirmed, it confirms that Reed and Sue are out there somewhere, they're just not on planet. So when Johnny says aren't around anymore, he means they're not on Earth or not in that vicinity anymore. So eventually they're going to come back. And Pete said, I'm going to hold the building for you guys until you come back, and then the Fantastic Four will get their building back, and Parker Industries is going to basically step down. And Johnny likes that. And then the end of the book, another bit of a spoiler, at the end of each issue they've been showing a villain. First issue was, I forget who the first issue was because it was like a multiple endings kind of deal, but second issue was Rhino. This issue, spoiler here, big one, Norman Osborn. So you've got a lot of the Spidey villains coming at Parker Industries, and we all know Norman knows who Spider-Man is, so it's going to be personal. Invincible Iron Man issue number 3, Iron Man versus Madame Mask, and he doesn't know what she's doing or why she's doing it. She's more reckless than usual, and he's fighting her while actually outside of his armor. His armor does a lot of the fighting, and actually we get flashed into the flash back in time with the fight because he is actually there with he's at what's her name's office, Amara's office, and he goes to her kind of for to have somebody to talk to because he's kind of upset about what's going on, and he's actually pissed that he can't figure out why she's doing it or what she's doing. And he goes to her and she's like, why don't you go to one of your superhero friends? He's like, every time I say I almost died or I almost this or that, they come back at me and say, yeah, I almost died yesterday because of da-da-da-da. And if it's a smart friend, they're all crazy. So you see that there's a relationship building between Tony and Amara. And then Tony goes to see Doc Strange because he wants help from Doc Strange to figure out where Doctor Doom is. And there's a whole thing with Amara. Check this book out and check that out. This was my favorite out of the 2 number 3s this week. And then there's this funny panel where he's like, high five! And Doc Strange is like, because Doc Strange kind of figures out where Madame Mask is, not Doctor Doom. And he's like, that's awesome. And he's like, awesome facial hair, bros. And he's like, I hate you. That was the best moment in the whole book with Doc Doom. And then he goes to where Madame Mask was, and it turns out she leaves him a tape and basically puts him in the middle of not a trap. Like, she doesn't set him a trap on purpose, but she knows certain other people are looking for her too. And when they find out Iron Man there instead of her, they're going to want to kill him because they don't want Iron Man to know that they exist. So basically, she trapped him without it really being a personal left trap. She just basically put him in a place where she knew he would die, but we all know he isn't. This is a good issue. I like Tony Stark's personality in Invincible Iron Man. Not saying I didn't like it in Superior Iron Man. I mean, it was meant to be that way in Superior. I'm glad we're past that phase, though. But I did not like the volume before Superior Iron Man at all. I feel like Bendis really has Tony Stark's personality down. I really enjoyed the issue. Alright. Nova number 1. Nova, or Sam, is leading a normal life, but he's also leading a Nova life. And his father, who has his old Nova helmet on, basically has some personal time, and then he goes off to be Nova. He was at the movies with his friends, you know, chilling, having a good time, and then he finds out that there's a fire, and he goes off as the Nova, even though it's his night off, to save the day and help his father out. The artwork in this book, by the way, really, really good. Really good. And they save people, but we find out that the father's helmet has a glitch. We get a lot of personal stuff going on with Sam and the father at work, Sam at school, and then there's another small dilemma that Sam is facing. He goes home, and then we find out the greatest spoiler of all. So this whole book was like an average read. It was like, you know, okay, I'm glad things have moved on. If the series was continuing, if this wasn't Nova number 1, this could have easily have been the next issue in the previous volume. So once again, it kind of does one thing that we've been trying to prove on Comic Frontline, or we've been saying, I should say, on Comic Frontline. All New, All Different does not apply to a lot of these books. If you did not read the previous volume, you won't know who Sam is. You won't understand why he's happy his father's back. This is a direct continuation of what happened in the previous volume of Nova. Anyway, though, we get a little twist at the end with the father, which I won't spoil that here. Wait till the next issue, and then we'll talk a little, or I'll review a little bit more on that. But again, this was an excellent issue, an excellent first issue, even though it's really a continuation. Take it for what it's worth. If you enjoyed Sam Alexander, you might actually enjoy this one too. It's a little different, but I'm waiting around to see issue 2 before I make a judgment, because this is more of a filler issue, more than a continuation, more than a first issue. And also, it was a filler continuation, so that's what I mean. Keyword filler. Alright, and lastly, we have, as Michael's grabbing it because he didn't realize, Extraordinary X-Men issue number 1. This was my favorite number 1 of the week. Now, Storm is still running the Xavier School for Higher Learning. However, the threat of the Terrigen Mist now killing mutants, and spoiler, but if you read Inhumans, you know why Beast is with the Inhumans, sterilizing mutants, so there can't be any more new mutants. And because of what Cyclops has been doing, you've got people not only hating the mutants, they don't fear the mutants anymore, they just hate them. Where at one time they would have just, you know, they would have threatened but not shot. They're shooting first and asking questions later kind of deal now. So she's dealing with the human race hating mutants, the Terrigen Mist killing mutants and sterilizing other mutants, and now because of the Terrigen Mist, which is the third, and I combined it with the second, there are no more new mutants coming into the world. It is just the mutants that are out there now. So it's kind of like what was going on during, oh god, what was it? Years of Future Past, where no more new mutants were being born, except this time it's the Terrigen Mist's fault. And she opens up X-Haven. We don't know where it is yet or what it is, but now Storm looks to bring her team back together in order to fight for the X-Men, protect mutants, and save whatever mutants are left on the planet. Magic goes to Peter, Colossus, to try to get him in, After a nice long conversation, he joins. Storm and Iceman go to, recruit Jean. Jean doesn't want anything to do with it. Even after Storm showed her all the bad things that are going on, she can't deal with it because of all that's happened with Cyclops. I have a feeling this is all connected to Uncanny X-Men issue 600, and I didn't get issue 600, so I probably won't know what the heck's going on with Cyclops. Or maybe it's something that did happen in Uncanny X-Men and I just don't know about it yet, or maybe it's just events that he's done, period. But anyway, she declines. Who goes for, somebody goes to try to find Nightcrawler. I believe it was Colossus. But before Storm and Iceman leave Jean, Jean warns them or tells them of somebody else that they might be interested in finding. And we all know from the cover already, that is Old Man Logan. And they find him in the North Pole and they're like, Logan? And he's like, I don't think I'm the Logan you were expecting, but I know who you are. You definitely don't know who I am. So it's kind of like that whole, he's going to reintroduce himself to those X-Men. So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of bad things going on towards X-Men. Hopefully, this is a great idea for, a year or two's worth of story arcs, but hopefully what Marvel's done here is basically cancel out any new mutants coming. At some point, hopefully they'll undo the whole Terrigen Mist thing and the erasing of X-Men or mutants, and at least unsterilize every mutant, so we'll have new mutants coming every once in a while. It's not like they have to write new mutants anyway. So I like that they're pushing the Inhumans, but not at the expense of the X-Men, especially the X-Men. Now, Marvel's been screwing with the X-Men ever since Schism. They separated the X-Men. Now Cyclops is gone, Wolverine is gone, and the X-Men are trying to come back together again. And things are worse than they were when Utopia was going on back during Dark Reign. So Marvel really needs to work on their mutant or their X-Men line. I don't care about the TV world or the movie world. Marvel needs, their X-Men. That's one of their, strongest teams. I believe let this go on for a little while longer, but then at some point, I think Marvel really needs to focus. After the Inhuman thing is done, Marvel needs to refocus and work on the X-Men a little bit more. But I loved Extraordinary X-Men issue #1. I'm very interested in seeing where it's going. Humberto Ramos' artwork is awesome in the book, and I love the ideas behind it. So we'll have to wait and see where issue 2 goes. But anyway, that's it for this review. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of any of the books I talked about here, the #1s or 3s, which is kind of ironic that we're already at #3 for Iron Man and Spider-Man. The double-ups for these books end in a month or two, so enjoy them while you have them, because then Deadpool gets doubled up and a few others get doubled up that, thank God, we don't get. Mike gets Deadpool, so. Anyway, till then, guys, there's a bunch of links in the description below connected to a bunch of things right here on Dark Avengers C86, Comic Frontline Zone 4, and Frontline Gaming Zone. Take care, everybody. Keep reading, keep collecting. I'll see you guys in the next video.